Hello everyone, welcome to a new chess video. In this video, we're going to see how to win at chess with a hyper-aggressive opening, which is the Danish Gambit, or as it's also called on this channel, the Hell Gambit. We're going to use a game played 150 years ago. Yes, because this gambit has been used for a long time. And you'll see that it's truly spectacular. So let's pay close attention. White starts with the king's pawn, e4, and black responds with the most traditional response in the world, which is the double king's pawn. You already know that here the most normal move, without a doubt, is knight f3. We could also play moves like bishop c4, we could even play knight c3, f4, but they're going to use a move we've seen several times on the channel, which is to play d4 directly. An extremely interesting move. The idea is that now you're telling black, hey, capture this pawn, because if you don't, you're going to be in a very bad spot. For example, if you defend it, I'm going to advance. This knight will have to move, and I'm gaining a spectacular amount of space. You're getting trapped back here, and I don't think this has very good prospects for you. Therefore, almost always here, they're going to capture this pawn. Very well, and now how can we continue? Well, in fact, we could continue as Scotch opening players might play the Scotch Gambit with knight f3, but the Hell Gambit or Danish Gambit is characterized by giving up two pawns, okay? In exchange for two bishops that are going to be spectacular. For example, this one will be placed on c4, and this one, if they let us, will place on b2. And how are we going to do that? Well, first by playing c3, attacking this black pawn, which they can decide whether to capture or not. Obviously, they're going to have to capture it, because imagine if they don't, and they play, for example, knight c6, we'll recapture the pawn, they no longer have a material advantage, and on top of that, we have a center they won't be able to take away, so we'll have a very large spatial advantage. Exactly. So when we play the c3, they should capture the pawn. That's already two extra pawns. We could recover this pawn, but no, look how aggressive this gambit is. That bishop c4 is played. You already know that in chess, the first one to give checkmate wins, not the first one to eat more pawns. Therefore, you must be very careful when capturing pawns, especially if you're giving the opponent a lot of initiative. For example, capturing this pawn here would already be quite doubtful, because then we would allow this bishop capture. And it's true that we have two extra pawns, looking at it from the black pieces, but the development is so brutally aggressive. Notice that the queen can come out through here along this diagonal and carry out tremendous attacks when black hasn't even moved a single piece yet. And it doesn't compensate at all for the two extra pawns. That's why the player with the black pieces, with a slightly conservative tone, played this knight to f6. A very interesting move. He's telling white, hey, do whatever you want, but I'm going to attack this point right here. Therefore, the white pieces have several options here. The first would be to pressure the knight with e5, which might not be a good idea, even though it might seem very tempting, because black would enjoy this good move d5, attacking white's bishop, and any piece exchanges or even queen trades benefit the black player. Why? Because they have extra material. You know that when you have extra material, you should try to trade pieces to reach an endgame with a material advantage. So this move e5 doesn't seem that good, does it? A very interesting move, without a doubt, would be to recover the pawn with knight takes c3. But the white player, who was very aggressive, played knight to f3. I'm a bit clumsy today, forgive me, knight to f3. With what idea? With the idea that, if you want, capture this pawn and I'll castle, put the rook on e1 and pressure you, but a lot. Plus, I also have ideas of placing the queen on d5, threatening checkmate, attacking the knight, and I'm completely sure that you're going to suffer. That's why the player with the black pieces, perhaps with good judgment, decided not to take so many pawns, but rather to develop the pieces correctly. By the way, I'm going to leave the Danish Gambit tutorial right here in the description in case you want to learn how to play it. All right? The idea is that now white, well, it seems they've already made quite a few. What's that? Time losses when it comes to losing pawns, and they decide that it's finally time to recover at least one pawn. And let's evaluate the position for a moment. Black has an extra pawn. But white has better development and also a central pawn. We can say that the position is fairly balanced. According to the engines, black is better. Why? Because they have an extra pawn and engines can defend against anything. But for humans, it's quite difficult to deal with these direct attacks, especially when the pieces are so well developed. D6 from black, preventing this pawn from advancing. Castle. The game continues with black also castling, and here begins the most aggressive move of the game, because believe it or not, the game doesn't have much left to finish. In fact, I'll tell you, the player with the white pieces is going to win in just a few moves. Logically, black's inaccuracy will also contribute to making this possible, right? If black played perfectly, this wouldn't happen. However, there is no human being capable of playing perfectly to date. White plays the aggressive move. Knight to c5, knight to g5. Many of you will say, let's see, it's clear what is threatening. He's attacking this f7 square with both the bishop and the knight. First off, I'm going to tell you one thing. It's well known that it's usually not a good trade to swap our bishop and knight on f7 for just a pawn and a rook. It's usually not a good goal, alright? However, there are exceptions. And here, what black really should have done is counter white's attack and say, look, I'll develop my knight to c6, and if you want to give up your knight for f7, no problem. I'll take with the rook, bishop takes, king takes. And I'll simply have two pieces for a rook. Because remember, we'd already be up a pawn. So black wouldn't have much of a problem here. However, black logically played h6, which is a major inaccuracy. And I'm going to explain why. What he was doing was saying, hey, come on, take this pawn, if you've got the guts. Let's put it that way. And indeed, I don't think the player with the white pieces thought twice about it, and he took that pawn. And I'll tell you why. Because now the situation changes a lot. Let's move forward a few moves. It's obvious the knight must be taken, otherwise you're just losing the pawn for nothing. Rook takes, there's no need to recapture immediately, because sometimes the threat is much stronger than the execution, and this rook can't go anywhere anyway because it's pinned. Yesterday, I uploaded a lesson on absolute and relative pins in the academy, okay? It's in the description if you want to join, for those of you who aren't in yet. And the idea is that we can exploit this pin, and for now, until the king moves away, we can keep the pressure on without having to capture. And here's the idea. The reason white decided to go for this, when it's usually not a good idea, is that now this e5 move is extremely powerful, because black's queen has been left completely defenseless, meaning this pawn can't be taken, because the queen would be lost. Do you see the difference if this knight had been developed to c6 instead of the pawn? The queen would be well defended, and all of this might not have much of a future. Therefore, black must move this knight away. And the question is, okay, where do they move it? Because there's really a lot of pressure being applied. I'm going to push, I'm going to capture, I have several threats. Black played knight to g5. And careful, the best move would have been knight to h7, staying passive, but that's very scary. What was black's idea? That playing knight to g4 has the following idea. Although it's very risky because white's move p6 makes a lot of sense, right? It cuts off the bishop's defense of the knight and threatens the rook. Black thought the following. Here, I'll play queen to h5, and watch out, because I'm threatening checkmate in 1. I'm also attacking the f2 square with 4 pieces. So let's see, white player, maybe you're being a little too clever here. But logically, black misjudged the situation. The game continued in the following way. Pawn takes rook, taking advantage of the check, so the king has to move. It can't be captured because it's well defended. King f8, and now this checkmate must be stopped, which is done with the move bishop f4. It's always better to try to defend the castling position without having to move these pawns. When you have the castling with the 3 pawns like this, it means you have a perfect castle. When you start making pawn moves, you already create weaknesses that black could attack through. Therefore, much better move is bishop f4. Black went for the attack with knight takes f2. The queen is threatened and discover checks are threatened as well. Logically, it wouldn't be a good idea at all to do rook takes knight. Because then, for example, queen takes bishop could follow, the rook would be pinned, and this would be a massive danger. Therefore, here, white has to move the rook, the queen, but what happens? That by moving the queen, what is threatened? Checkmate and won. Therefore, they must proceed with great precision. Knight g4, discover check. King h1, be careful, because this bishop can't move, or else a spectacular checkmate would follow. And now, black must prepare a defense against the checkmate on the back rank. Do you see it? How do they do it? Well, with bishop d7, it makes all the sense in the world. Not only does it defend, but it also prepares an entry via 6-6 to directly attack the king. As you're seeing, this is turning into a double-edged battle. And although it seems both sides have chances to win, there's only one side that can win. And it's the one with the white pieces, because the attack is decisive. How would you keep pressing here? I'll let you pause the video if you want to try to study with me. I'm going to give the solution right now. The idea is to bring the other rook into the attack. No matter how much the checkmate is defended, the threat remains the same. Queen d8, check. When the bishop captures, then recapture with the rook, and it would still be checkmate. Therefore, exactly the same checkmate as before is being threatened again. That's why black can't play bishop c6 to attack, but instead they have to play knight c6 where the rook comes to defend this point. And now, white wins in 3 moves. You can pause the video to see if you find the checkmate, because it's spectacular. Take this as a tactical exercise and take all the time you need. Careful, in a game you usually have 20 or 30 minutes to think, so don't worry if you don't find it at first. I'm going to give the solution, because here, white calculated perfectly that queen d8 is the winning move. Yes, sacrificing the queen, but what happens? That when this queen is captured, we're not going to capture with the rook, but with the pawn, promoting to another queen. And now look at what's happening. We are unleashing the discovered attack from the rook. And when the bishop takes the queen, it's nothing less than a double check with bishop takes d6. Check with the bishop and check with the rook, and thanks to the light squared bishop, this is checkmate. What'd you pick? A spectacular, hyper-aggressive game of the Danish Gambit, right? I really hope that you enjoy watching this video. I'll leave the Danish Gambit video and a link to the Academy in the description below if you'd like to check those out. We have a special launch price right now, and if you sign up at this rate, it's guaranteed to be locked in for a lifetime. Otherwise, we'll be right here every single day with the free video. I hope you loved it. Leave a like, and we'll see you tomorrow in the next video, friends. Bye.